Hello guys. I hope that your 9 weeks is going well and that you are all excited for the holidays coming up. We're going to jump right into it today, and we are going to learn how to calculate the minimum speed of a car that was moving when it slammed on the brakes to make skid marks on the road. You have three variables in a formula. This is your formula. S equals the square root of 30 times D times F times N. And you just spent a couple of minutes talking with Miss Campbell going over these four factors here. D is the distance of the skid marks. F is the drag factor, and then N is the braking efficiency. Now remember, the drag factor is basically how easily something can slide on the road. If very high drag factor like asphalt, then that means it's going to be very rough and things aren't going to slide as far. Very low drag factor means that the road is very slick and things will slide a lot farther. And then so in our problems here, we're going to go over example 1. Remember, this is our formula here. S is the speed, and we're basically going to take the square root of four numbers multiplied together. Four numbers are 30. 30 is always going to be in your formula. D is the distance of the skid marks, or the length of the skid marks. F is your drag factor, or the road surface slickness, and then N is your braking efficiency. Braking efficiency, just a reminder, is how well the brakes are working. If the brakes are working perfectly, then you're going to have a braking efficiency of 100%, or in decimal form, that's going to be 1. If they're only working at 75% efficiency, then the braking efficiency would be 0.75. Okay, let's go ahead and do example 1 here. I'm going to do this here on my computer, and as I do, I want for you to be writing out these notes on your paper as well. They're going to serve and help you when you're doing the assignment tomorrow. Please make sure that you're writing all of this down. And also, as we go through and do these problems, I want you to make sure that you're writing down the formula for speed for every single problem. The reason you're going to do this is because you're not going to be given the speed formula on the test. You're going to have to remember it. And the more you write it down in your practice, the more likely it is you'll remember it on the day of the test. All right? So, we're always going to get a word problem for these. So a car skids to a stop, leaving 4 skid marks with an average length of 60 feet. It's important to recognize that this is an average, meaning that some are longer than 60 feet, some are shorter than 60 feet. But we're just going to use 60 feet as an average in this problem. It says the road is asphalt, and the skid test on that surface revealed a drag factor of 0.75. So we have 60 feet is our distance. 0.75 is our drag factor, and all 4 wheels are braking, and the braking efficiency is 100%, or 1. This is our N, and we want to know how fast the car was traveling. So let's go ahead and head over. We're going to be doing example 1 here. Make sure that you go ahead and title your notes at the top. Up here, notes calculating speed. Remember, always write out your formula. S is equal to the square root of 30 times D times F times N, or you can just write it DFN together. It's a very good idea when doing math with these kinds of formula that you write out the things that you know. You know D. In our problem, we know F, and we know N. So let's take a look. Our D is 60, distance 60. Our drag factor, F, is 70.75. And our braking efficiency is 1, not 100%. You need to make sure that you're using the decimal form, which is 1. So D is 60. F is 0.75, and N is 1. So we're going to plug these numbers in here. We're going to start writing our formula just like it's written there. We're always going to include the 30. And we're going to say 30 times 60 times 0.75 times 1. right? If you type that into your calculator, just type in 30 times 60 times 0.75 times 1. You get speed is equal to the square root of 1,350 feet, or 1,350. We are not finished yet. There's still one more step to do. We have to take care of that square root button. So on your calculators, you should see something that looks kind of like this. Now that you have 1350 typed into your calculators, all you have to do is press that square root button, and it will tell you that S is equal to 36.7423, blah, 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 blah. We are not going to write out the entire decimal as our answer. We're going to round to the nearest tenths place. If you did not get an answer that looked like this, 36 point something or another, I need for you to make sure that you are typing it in correctly in your calculator. You should type in 1350 and then press the square root button. If you're having trouble finding the square root button, go ahead and lean over, get some help, ask Miss Campbell. All right, so some notes on rounding. When we round our answers, we're going to round to this nearest tenth place. And remember our rules for rounding. In order to know how to round this, you're going to look at the next number in line. If the next number is 5 or higher, then we're going to round up. We're going to round up 1. If it is 4 or lower, then the number is going to stay the same. Right. So our circled number here, we're trying to figure out what to do with that 7. Are we rounding it up or are we leaving it the same? So we're looking at the 4, the next number. It's a 4, and according to our rule, if it's 4 or lower, then it stays the same. So when we round, we're going to get 36.7. It stays the same, miles per hour. This is our final answer here. Okay, so I want for you to go ahead and pause the video, and Miss Campbell is going to throw up the slides, and you guys are going to finish practice numbers 1, 2, and 3. By yourselves. And then Miss Campbell is going to share the answers. If you do not get the correct answer, then you need to make sure that you're asking questions, working with people at your table. And when you are finished with that, once there are no more questions about practice problems numbers 1, 2, and 3, then you're going to come back and you're going to go over another example with me, example number 2. All right? So pause the video and complete practice problems 1, 2, and 3 that are in the slides. All right, guys, welcome back. You completed practice problems 1, 2, and 3, and so now we're going to move on to example number 2. Example number 2 is exactly like question number 1. The only difference is in real life, you're not going to just be given the average length of the skid marks. Instead, you're going to be given 4, or you're going to see 4 different skid marks on the ground, or maybe you're only going to see 3 skid marks on the ground. You may only see 2 skid marks on the ground, but you're going to have to find an average length for the skid marks. So it's the same thing we did before, using the speed equals square root of 30 DFN, but this time we're going to add an extra step at the beginning, and we're going to have to find the average skid mark length first. So here in example 2, it says a car skids to a stop, leaving 4 skid marks, 64.1 feet, 63.8 feet, a third one is 64.2 feet, and then the last one is 64.4 feet. So let's go ahead and in our notes, this is example 2. Our distance, we're going to have to find the average. So 64.1 and 64 And in order to find the average, what you're going to do is you're going to take the numbers that you're given. We have 4 different numbers that we're trying to find the average for. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because we have 4 numbers, we're going to add those 4 numbers up and we're going to divide by the number of numbers that there are. And remember, there are 4 numbers that we're adding together. So 64.1 plus 63.8 plus our other 2 numbers, 64.2 plus 64.4. When you add all of those together, you get an answer of 256.5. And our next step is to divide that by 4. You already have 256.5 written into your or typed into your calculators, so just hit divided by 4. Now remember, we're dividing by 4 because there are 4 numbers that we added together. 2, 3, 4 numbers. And when you do 256 divided by 4, you should get a distance of 64.125 feet. All right, we're not finished. That's just step 1. This is our average distance. Now we have to calculate the speed. So we're going to need our F and our N value from the problem. It says here the road is asphalt and skid tests reveal a drag factor of 0.89. And all 4 wheels are braking, and the braking efficiency is 100%, or 1. So let's bring our F, 0.89, over, and our N, which is 1. And here's where we're going to use our speed equals square root of 30 dFN. Remember, I want you to be writing this out. Remember, it's practice, it's memory. By writing it every time, you're going to be more likely to remember it later on. So speed is equal to the square root of 30 times d, which is up here. We calculated that, 64.125, multiplied by 0.89, multiplied by 1. Type that into your calculator. 30 times 64.125 times 0.89 times 1, and you should end up with a S equals square root of 1,712.1375. Now that you have that number, all you have to do is type in or hit the square root button. So square root of 1712.1375 gives you a speed of 41.37798, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we have to round this. When we round, remember we're rounding it to the 10th place. So in order to do that, we're going to look at the next number. If it's a 5 or higher, then the number before it rounds up. If it's a 4 or lower, then it stays the same. Because the number after the 3 is a 7, the 3 rounds up. So our speed is equal to 41.4 miles per hour. Okay. Now, the rest of the problems are the exact same way. The only difference is maybe the number of distance skid marks that you're adding together. For instance, in practice 1 here, you only have 3 numbers that you're adding together. If you're adding 3 numbers together, what are you going to divide by to find the average? You're going to divide by 3. And if you're given only 2 numbers, 2 distances to find the average, you're going to divide by 2. To find the average, you're always going to add your numbers together and then divide by the number of numbers that you added. All right. So I want for you to go ahead and complete practice 1, 2, and 3 for the section 2, for example 2. And then Ms. Campbell will go over the answers with you. And if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. All right. I hope you guys are having a great day and enjoy your Christmas break. And I will see you guys after the new year. Take care.